How's it going, everyone? Darby here with the AI author, and happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to everyone out there, and hope your new year is off to a great start. I'm excited to be here with you today because over the course of the next 90 minutes to 2 hours or so, I'm going to be going over a recipe that I've created in collaboration with John Benson called the Buyer's Blueprint Recipe. This is going to be the 3.0 edition. Now, I worked with John Benson on this recipe starting probably about 5-6 months ago now. And what we got out of this recipe and creating it was the reason behind the recipe, first and foremost, was to create the different variables and functions inside Jasper, brainstorming with Jasper to create the variables for the CopyPro marketing blueprint, getting tongue-tied. And that basically uses Jasper's superpower of brainstorming and doing like customer research and market research, as you'll see inside of this recipe, to do that, which is the heavy lifting of creating this marketing blueprint. And once you put all of these outputs inside of Jasper, inside of CopyPro, now you have all of these like really proven direct response, like email funnels, sales pages, landing pages, centered around like a very specific avatar who are you solving a very specific problem for. They have a goal in mind. And so all of your marketing copy is super coherent. So really powerful combination where you're using the two of these tools together. But today, I'm going to be going over how I've been using the same exact recipe that you guys are going to be able to access if you are a part of our AI author community. This recipe will be available inside of our Gen AI Insider newsletter, which I'm going to be wrapping up the final bits of that after this live stream today and sending it out later this evening or tomorrow morning. So this recipe along with this recording so you can watch and learn how to use the recipe for content creation. It's gonna have a lot of elements in it. And the talk of prompts and engineering prompts right now is really hot with ChatGPT and all of that. And so we're gonna be using ChatGPT as well, because I honestly haven't ran the prompts from this recipe inside of ChatGPT yet. So we'll be able to compare the two kind of side by side and see which of these commands and prompts that we're doing and how we're using Jasper, how is it going to compare to a lot of what we're finding in ChatGPT. My experience with ChatGPT so far has been that it's good for like certain things. I find that sometimes it can rewrite emails in different tones of voice or rewrite things in a less aggressive, more passive kind of tone, depending on how you're directing it. I find that sometimes it does that better than Jasper, but I'm still experimenting with it. And like things like little creative stories here and there can both be worked side by side as of right now. Of course, ChatGPT is free. Jasper is paid once you're really starting to use it. My personal like issue with relying on chat right now, which is why I don't, is because there's so much volume that they're receiving and like their servers have been down like half the time whenever I go to the site. It's just, I'm not able to even use it. I'm not relying on it professionally, but I'm like experimenting with it. And I do find that there's places that it does shine in certain cases, but I'm still Team Jasper for sure. And we'll see how things go. Obviously, this industry is changing very fast. Before we kick things off here, I want to say hey to everybody out there that's joining us with us live. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, and then we'll get things going. I have a few ideas for different projects right now that we're going to need to create a lot of content in. And so I'm going to be experimenting with some ideas, brainstorming which one. Probably going to go with our UC Berkeley Changemakers course for AI in education, because we're like ramping up for the semester right now, and we're kicking off our course end of January, early February for open enrollment. And so we're going to be creating a lot of content over the next 90 days about AI in education, its implementations, different ethics around it, problems with it, and developing content that's going to speak to this industry and education and how AI is really changing things up. And we'll see what Jasper can help us with, because really excited about this course. I haven't seen the most recent offer on the table now. Maybe this just happened, but yeah, there's some wild stuff going on in that world. So we're going to be posting some updates about what's going on with ChatGPT, Microsoft, and all of that sort of stuff inside of our Gen AI newsletter. All right. So the thing with a lot of content out there and learning how to do stuff is that it's great to watch and see it. But like with a tool like Jasper, ChatGPT, you can obviously I'm going to be demonstrating them in action, but you guys can literally follow along right now. So you can walk away from this workshop hopefully having 90 days worth of content that you've created that you can use for your brand, making more content, stays in front of more customers. And all right, guys, so before we kick this off, if you want access to this recipe, go to the aiauthor.com/keylinks. I'll show you exactly where this recipe is, so it's impossible to miss, along with a bunch of other recipe goodies for you. So let's do this. Go to the aiauthor.com/key links. Once you get here, you're going to notice there's a lot of these recipes. Okay, these are a bunch of recipes. A lot of these are in our cookbook as well. And there's a bunch of recipes that you can use. You can see links to them right here and what they do. And there's some key links down here. If you want the cookbook, you can get that there. New recipe template if you're into making recipes. If you haven't taken your first time with Jasper, just go through the Jasper Bootcamp to start. That's #1 place to start. And a few other things down here, like our AutoScripting micro course. If you haven't gone through, that's how you get signed up there. But these are all just like free recipes for you guys to use. Got a lot of really good reviews about them, and they're really great for all different types of content. But for this recipe, go on over to the CopyPro Jasper Commands tablet and go up here, F1, the Buyer's Blueprint Recipe 3.0. Click that link, and you'll come to the Buyer's Blueprint Recipe 3.0. Again, there's a lot of training that we have on this for actually implementing it into the buyer or the marketing blueprint inside of CopyPro, but we're not going to be doing that today. What I want you to do is go in here, grab that recipe, and then click run. And once you click run, it's going to open up the recipe. And this is a big recipe, over 3,000 words inside of this recipe right now. So we're going to go into this recipe, and now the recipe is going to be inside of your Jasper account. And I'm actually going to come out so I can show you guys exactly where this recipe is in case you ever just want to go back and re-reference it. So you're going to go back, and you're going to go from, that's going to take you to your documents. From your documents, you want to go down to the recipes section right below your documents on the left-hand sidebar. Once you're in here, this is going to be where like a lot of the top community recipes are. You find a few up here. You'll also find like these recipes down here, right? And so I've got a lot of recipes, like 700 pages worth. But every time you open up a new recipe, it's going to open up so you can always reference it back in here. But I would recommend also like bookmarking the key links tab. It's like right over here. So bookmark this spreadsheet just so you have it on hand, or keep the link somewhere handy, and then open up that recipe, and we will get going. And I'll show you step by step how to walk through filling this out. So you only have to give Jasper a few inputs, and you can watch it do the work for a lot of content on the output side. So as we get started with the recipe, I'm not joking when I say like we spent dozens of hours, John and I, on Zoom, like breaking down all of these different commands. And they're right now, if you go in CopyPro, most of these commands, if not all of them, are integrated inside of CopyPro, inside of its own tab. So you can just copy and paste them in there. This is a more advanced approach using recipes to getting things going. And so I'm going to zoom in my screen a little bit more and walk everyone now top to bottom. We're 15 minutes in. I'll have about 15 minutes at the end if we time this to 90 minutes properly, but I'm not going to be necessarily prepping this content right now. My focus is to get the content out and batch the work for this project. And then after this, I will hand it off to my team. We'll start prepping it. We'll turn it into graphics. We'll turn it into Twitter posts. We'll turn it into all sorts of stuff over the next 90 days. As we kick things off, guys, go ahead and grab this recipe, the aiauthor.com/key-links, and start scrolling down with me once you guys are in here. What you're going to want to do first and foremost is come down step 1 to filling out your content brief, because this content brief is going to be key for Jasper's context and the AI's context in general. I'm going to open up my ChatGPT here as well, so I can tab over when I need to. Context is everything. And this is really where you want to engineer your prompt, so to speak, in here to have the most effective outputs on the commands, as I call them, not prompts, because they're building off of certain levels of context and are used in very specific situations. Content brief, these are all of the variables inside of your prompt that you're going to end up needing, okay? You're going to need an avatar, your niche, and we're not going to start with all of these, so to preface with that, we're not going to start with all of these at certain stages inside of this recipe. I'm actually only going to start with 2. And I'm going to start also and just edit my title. As you can see on my upper left-hand side of my screen, this is how it's always going to open up. But this is also where like Jasper is going to reference the title. If you've seen some of our earlier trainings, the interface may look a little different here than Jasper did 6 months ago. They got rid of the title bit, and Now I'm just treating this for the context of the title. So I'm going to say AI and education buyer's blueprint. So like giving Jasper that pointer, like, hey, that's where we're heading. And I'll leave that right now. And so my avatar in this case is going to be educators. And when you guys are filling out your avatar, you're going to spend some time here because this is going to make all the difference in how consistent and where our messaging is going to be going. Go over to the third tab as it is right now. It says, so niche in this case, it's going to say education, right? Our avatars are going to be educators. And background on this too is that one of our coaches at the AI Author has her own coaching business and is like a 20-year veteran in the education space, Kelly Tenney, and I are going to be working to create a course with UC Berkeley in their Berkeley Changemakers program. And so that's starting this spring semester. And we were just able to officially announce it last week on the call. So we're creating a lot of content for that project right now. And so the avatar in this case, we're going to be teaching like high school students, right? Or I don't know, college students in this program to go through this whole 8-week course. But I want to create this blueprint around educators who are in the education niche because like they're going to see like different perspectives on AI. And after going through this blueprint and generating all this content, I'll work with Kelly. That's like round 1 of the content. We'll turn it into round 2 and then we'll prep it and get it all ready for post-production on that side. So I've got these 2 really key variables right here. And now you don't need to add this one in right out the gate. It is good to know your primary complaint. Like what's the number one thing your prospect is thinking about? But I just want to show you how to run and start working this recipe with literally just these 2. And then the next most important one that we're going to add in is going to be the primary goal, because the primary goal is going to feed all of the secondary goals, secondaries and all around that we're going to create the content for. So I'm going to add this tone of voice to be consistent throughout the course of this recipe. And I might update it. Here we go. But this is visceral emotional language. I found that it's very effective for adding a little bit more color and just like better outputs from my experience testing it. So also want to add this in now to the content brief, because you can use a lot of the content you're generating here after we're done generating it and add it in the CopyPro. And this is how this should be formatted in there. And so we like leading with that too for compliance and other sorts of reasons. And this is an example. If you scroll down a little again, because we're going to add in the primary goal up here in a second, but you can see this is one that John Benson had filled out: avatar, niche, primary complaint, primary goal, right? So woman over 50 in the weight loss niche, their number one complaint is they can't lose weight, and primary goal is losing weight. Pretty obvious. But once you have these, then Jasper is going to give you all the other variables. And we may get into this a little bit as we get into that recipe, but we don't need to spend too much time on it here. Once you scroll down beyond that, now we're at the begin recipe stage. And so just using what we've done here in the past 6 minutes and setting up, like setting the table, so to speak, for what Jasper's going to do, now I can start to brainstorm with Jasper a little bit here. And at the end of the day, the person, the human that's behind this machine is going to be your choice, right? You're going to know, should be the ultimate decider. Is this good enough and where I want it to go into the next step, right? So we're very much brainstorming here. Some of what Jasper is going to put out is going to be great. Some of what it's going to put out might not be so good. We're going to be playing with ChatGPT as well. And all you need to do to run this command, and a lot of these commands throughout the rest of this recipe, literally all I'm doing is clicking compose, which is Control J. If you are looking for ways to run this command, you can also run it 2 other ways, where you do a Command Shift Enter. And I'm going to click this little pink button in the upper right hand corner, Command Shift Enter, keyboard shortcuts, right next sentence is right here. So Command J or Control J if you're on a PC. That's just going to have Jasper right next sentence, but Jasper is smart enough to know that like this is a prompt, right? So it's a prompting to do it. I call it commands often because of the way that this thing is structured. This is where you want to basically click go. If you want to just run it and execute it as lead to Jasper, it sometimes operates a little bit differently if you do a Command Shift Enter. And again, like running these commands, just experiment with it, right? Sometimes you'll find better results doing Command J. Sometimes you'll find it Command Enter or Command Shift Enter. In a lot of cases, I'll just use Command J when I was building this. So I think you might find good success with that, but please do explore right there. So this is output number one. All I did was click Control J, compose, and this is output number one. And this is Jasper brainstorming with me. The primary goal of educators is to inspire and motivate their students to learn, grow, and reach their full potential. With this in mind, they strive to develop innovative teaching strategies that help instill a passionate love of learning in the classrooms. Cool, like that's output one. I'm gonna put a little bit of space right here. And this is how I organize some of my stuff, because a lot of this is gonna go into a Google Doc afterwards. And if you structure it like you're just like adding that was an H2, then whenever you paste it over into a Google Doc, you'll be able to organize things a little bit right there. And just made that an H1. And I'm going to run this command again. I'm going to usually try to run it at least 3 times, and then I decide to pick and go from there. But it's as simple as compose. And what is a good thing to highlight here is because Jasper is operating off of such it recognizes a lot of patterns and it sees where you're going here, you'll sometimes find that it's prompting itself. Right. And so Jasper, and sometimes I'll just run with this. If you don't necessarily have to, this could steer off from like the ultimate goal of the recipe. But secondary goals, what would the secondary goals of educators transfer learning experience, right? Like this is still in line with what we're wanting to generate. And I'm just brainstorming right now. And some of this stuff ends up like feeding itself into making new recipes. This would be an example of Jasper saying, oh, if that's my primary goal, what are my secondary goals now? Making education more accessible, empowering students with a personal learning, helping educators to create dynamic, engaging learning environments. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to that right now because we're going to be able to generate a lot of those throughout this recipe. I'm going to do one more because I'm just going to keep this as an output. So 2, and we'll do 3, empowering educators to transform learning experiences. Try one more. Let's see, students. I like this one. Help students reach their full potential. So now, brainstorming with Jasper, this would be the primary goal: creating engaging, effective, enjoyable, combination, interactive, personalized instructions, innovative resources. So I'm just going to let Jasper finish this thought, and then I'm going to keep the content here. Cool. And let's do this. So I'm going to move on now to the next stage of the recipe. No, it's sorry. 4 actually. No. So now I'm here. I say educators, primary goal. I don't need to do the by just now. You want to keep this short and simple for Jasper. So now add primary goal. I'm going over here to the left now, and I'm updating my content brief. Updating of your content brief throughout the course of this recipe, and honestly, any sort of like longer form content that you're creating with AI in general, is key to keeping it going on because you're giving it context and where to go next. Primary goal. You want to just write it like this because it's how I set it up in the rest of the recipe. Help students reach their full potential. Okay. Cool. So that's that. We've got our primary goal. Now it's time. Now we want to generate a topic. And this is where I don't want you guys to get hung up right now as we're generating the content, because there's no point in trying to be super nitpicky right now. Like, we're going to be able to generate a lot. We're not going to use it all, but we're going to be able to pick what the right things are out of the content we have and then use that in the next phase of the thing. We got a quick question, which is a good question before we move on here, is when you immediately delete what Jasper wrote, what you rejected, does that still count towards your monthly word count? The answer right now is I'm not exactly sure, but I've heard, and I'm pretty sure that this is the case, when you give something, let's just do this, a thumbs down, and let's say this was like a bad output. You could go over here and say poor completion, 0 credits refunded. I have an unlimited plan, so I actually don't I have an unlimited credits plan, so it was going to show up like that for me. But if you guys see a really bad output, don't just delete it. Go and do a thumbs down because it was a bad output, and then Jasper will refund you those credits. Good question, CS. And so just something to be aware of. I don't think Jasper is going to refund credits if you do something and delete it. So it might be a bad habit I'm in, but let me go back again and go ahead and run this command. And this is a topic more specifically for, this is a more like, you're going to put this topic inside a CopyPro. And so just go ahead and run it, brainstorm. And like, you'll notice this, like, what are some of the benefits, right? And so we're going to get some of these benefits coming up. And if Jasper does that, see, it just prompted itself to go down this kind of route. This is all something that I could use in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not just going to trash it. That would just be wasteful if I had actual credits. But yeah, so that's how you start to run these commands. And now we're getting into the primary complaint. I just want to take a quick second, pause, and have a short glass of water. And I'm going to show you guys how, and I'm going to test it actually, so you can see, because we'll see how it goes down this path. But I want to set the same exact command up and copy in ChatGPT and see how Jasper goes from there. 1 second. All right. So before we move on, because like literally once we start going through this and I show you some of the tricks of how you can approach this recipe, you'll see exactly how you can generate just like heinous amounts of content, that it's like good content in a really short amount of time. Like the thing with the recipes and why I obviously prefer boss mode and work a lot in here is like, once I've created the recipe, now I don't have to like retype and paste and do everything again with my own recipes. But the problem is now, if I'm in chat, which it's not too much of a problem, but let me share the screen. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste all this stuff in, and you guys could do the exact same thing. So multiple ways to go about this. I'm just going to copy and paste everything that I would need without changing screens every time. So now I'm testing the exact same command for finding my primary goal. Let's see how chat goes, because if chat crushes it with this, then you might want to use this one better. But this is what I've set now chat up with. Same exact prompts, like literally the same context I could give the AI. And from here, you just click enter. Cool. Maximizing student potential, right? Helping students reach their full potential. Not bad. Regenerate response. Helping students reach their full potential. Empowering students to reach their full potential. I like that. I liked adding the empowering. So it's a nice little brainstorm there with chat. One and the same, helping, empowering. Look at this. It's pretty much on the board. I think that's the #1 goal of teachers, and I would not disagree. Great. We just, and now I guess now that we're over here, if you're inside of chat, you could just keep this. What I would do actually in this case is I would take this. I would just start a new chat over here, because I have lost a bunch of content, I think, in Jasper chat, but I haven't really found a good way to organize necessarily. But the whole point of this recipe is to keep the commands and like the prompts consistent for the context for Jasper. And so if you just keep this, then we could have a separate Jasper prompt, right? What would the secondaries be? No, not that one. I'm gonna scroll down. All right, so now, and again, this is how you guys could just roll down the exact same prompts, just a different format. And I'm just going to paste that over here. Notice that once we run the command, whatever you want to call it, it's going to name it in the upper left-hand corner. I got to name it student potential again. That's weird. Oh, students, that's why, maximizing student potential. So it's taking that, you can just rename it. So rename this primary goal topic, primary goal, do it in light mode. It's not the mode I like. Going dark mode, a lot easier in the eyes. Yeah, so I would, yeah, primary goal, yeah. Oh, that's weird. Topic there. This is the first time I've done this, so it might be a little clumsy. And so now, what the heck? It keeps renaming the topic. Oh, I'm not gonna spend time on it. But I am gonna copy content over here back into my Jasper documents. Did it do? Yeah, it did do numbers. So numbers. I'm gonna add the numbers, just a little numerical thing right here. And now, cool. So I hope by this point, guys, I say it's super confusing. Let me know like where you're getting held up at, like inside of here, or any kind of questions where you guys have them as I'm coming. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat as we go. I'm just going to move on down here and show, because once we get to rolling with this recipe, like I said, a lot of the work that we've done is right here. And as I move down, I'm just going to format it, add my H1, and I'll probably make a Google Doc version of this that has this sort of structure also. And I'm going to click Command J. And good question, Deb. What are you going to do with the list of 10 things? So those lists that I just generated of the 10 things is going to be a topic that I could put inside of a field inside of CopyPro. I'm not going to spend much time on the topics here. It's just brainstorming ideas that I can pull from for industry elements. But for these types of top 10s, these are all things that I'm going to show you once we get through the primary complaint, how you can start to brainstorm all of your other content and threads and stuff inside of this recipe too. And so as this is now us brainstorming with Jasper, what's the primary complaint of avatar related to primary goal? It's referencing this, right? Listicle format, give me 10 examples, right? If you wanted 50 examples, you could do that, but I usually just start with 10 or 5. You can just change this number if you want less to save you some credits. But if I'm picking a primary goal now, which this is something I could add over here as well, but I could say feeling overwhelmed with all the information they need to know in order to teach effectively, struggling to engage students who may not respond well to traditional teaching methods, spending too much time trying to develop lessons plans. So all things that I can choose from here that are related to my avatar's primary goal. And again, this is like stuff that I can create content around. And that's what I want to highlight with this being a more content-driven and recipe. Struggling to connect with students deeper, like feeling uncertain about their qualifications, searching solutions. So we could create a blog post around any one of these, for example. And that's like, as you're generating this stuff, be thinking about, oh, like, maybe this is a question that is a subject line that opens up your email. Maybe this is a blog post that you want to write a quick blurb about, or a LinkedIn article, or a Twitter thread, or you want to take this and build out more content from it. And that's what we're going to be using these variables for. And so I'm generating them now, and I'm going to get through the primary complaint topic real quick. Bring you down now, because now you've seen how the primary goal, primary complaint are both generated. We could again go back to ChatGPT for this sort of stuff, and like I certainly will in some cases, but I'm going to do it here for the secondary complaint. Now I list out 25 examples, and reason why the secondary complaint section is so important is because I learned this from John Benson was, like, people might have a primary complaint, but what you're selling is on all of the secondary complaints that people have, and like addressing all of those complaints, then you sell people who have the primary complaint. And the way that we found that this recipe was very effective in this command and prompt was, what are the secondary complaints of avatar? And right, and Jasper's referencing this too, and of avatar related to primary goal, right? So it's not related to primary complaint, it's related to the primary goal. So what is their secondary complaints related to this? Feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information and resources available to students, struggling to stay organized and prioritize tasks, experiencing frustration, anxiety. So this is good stuff, but I want to test something now, because I know that the recipe is working and I know that I can generate these sorts of outputs. I'm going to add in primary complaint, because I want it to be very specific about what we're doing. Like I said earlier about the Changemakers course. I haven't added the primary complaint to the brief yet, but this is where, like, when you're like really specific with where you want Jasper to reference something, I wanted to show, like, you can see this is good, but nothing has been mentioned about AI at all in education. I want to see what I can do on the research side that we can handle for opening up this conversation in the world of education, because there's a lot of talk on both sides, the positives and the negatives about it, like things from plagiarism. Is it going to be students cheating using it? And so this is where I want to step in and add in and address the primary complaint inside of the brief. Okay. And again, this is me putting it in. Like, Jasper's not reading my mind and isn't thinking that, oh, this guy is going to want to do this with an angle on AI. Now that I've given it this, I'm going to go back up and I'm going to start running, and let's see if it's on the right track. Feeling frustrated by trying to keep up with the ever-evolving technology in education. Like, much more on point with where I want to be heading with this content. Worrying about how quickly students adapt to new methods of learning. Resources, okay? Struggling to understand the potential impact of AI can have on our student success. Let's see. So I'm going to get all 25 here. I'm just pressing Command J. I'm checking out some of the comments. I see a question from Carl. Is this recipe creation discussed in your book? Not the AI author cookbook in as much detail. Where you can find out more information on how to create recipes, and if you're just getting into this, I would recommend this is your next step after you go through the Jasper Bootcamp, is inside of the key links spreadsheet in the regular cookbook command stack. Probably could be a lot less hidden over here in the corner, but AutoScripting micro course is right here, and that's a course inside, and I think you need to have access to the circle point. But if you guys go to autoscripting.ai, this is the micro course that I put together and just finished up this video with our teams. We're starting to enroll some more folks in it. We've been testing it out since about September of last year. I put this course together for everyone after the Scale with AI Summit. So if you go through this course, this is going to teach you the whole process for how to go about the prompt engineering side of things. And this is the website, how it looks right now, just autoscripting.ai. If you go to this course, this page, it's a micro course. It's only 2 hours long, and it's broken up into, I think, 9 sections right now. And I want to point this out because I know you guys are here because you're interested in AI. And I think it's important that you understand where these resources are. So I want to point you towards that direction while we're going through here and unpacking this recipe. Cool. Because the last 30 minutes of this recipe are going to be like, you're going to see a lot of different ways to go about using what we've been creating over this time. But if you go to that autoscripting.ai, it's going to get you into our micro course. So you got about 2,000 people inside of here as well, but I know not everyone's gone through it necessarily. A lot of folks from our community have tested it out though over the past 4 or 5 months. And so when you're inside the course, it's just going to have all the key links for where things are at and walking you through how it's all set up. And so the whole course is broken down, and I am turning this course, also this micro course, is basically the backbone of our book, AI and the Rebirth of Writing, that's going to be coming out soon. So like that course is like an extension, or that book is going to be an extension of this micro course. And if you go through it, it teaches you everything from auto-scripting, Jasper syntax, waiting, like actually what recipes are, and then going through the 3 pillars of auto-scripting, which is prompt engineering, command stacking, and workflow automation. Jasper syntax all the way to automating your workflows with recipes. Like this will give you as much of a foundation as I've seen anybody on how to take what you know with Jasper and AI for like content creation, generative AI, and apply it to automating and like creating better content faster with processes and stuff that you already do. Autoscripting.ai, that will get you access to that. And if you guys just want like where everything was basically built on, you've got that key link spreadsheet, aiauthor.com/ I am going to be releasing this book on Amazon, hopefully soon, just in a print format and on Kindle as well right now. And it's still available right now for free. If you go to the aiauthor.com/cookbook, you scroll through this book, and this is going to walk you through the entire Jasper Bootcamp as well. So when you scroll through this book, let me make sure I didn't scroll too far past, right? Okay, cool. Key thing here is going to be in the content. So again, for brand new to Jasper, check this out. Introduction, Jasper 101, resources, goes over recipes as well. But the back end of this book, like we teach you like the whole framework for how to write a book, Jasper 101. Whenever you click on one of these chapters, again, theaiauthor.com/cookbook, you click on a chapter, you can go directly to that chapter in this PDF. And then if you click the button or the little icon brain thing here at the bottom, it's going to take you right back to the table of contents. And I thought that was a cool add-in and saving some time when you're looking through all these recipes. Hey, I need to generate FAQs. Boom, you can generate FAQs with this recipe. You click the link and voila, the recipe is inside your Jasper account. Okay, then you run it from there, and we'll be updating this cookbook as time goes on. But those are the two ways that I would recommend you guys if you're getting started with and want to learn more about these recipes. And now we're going to jump back in and see what we're going to do now with this content that we're generating inside this recipe. And these 25 initial, you can go to as many as you want, but it's overkill if you just start an unnecessary amount, because there's a lot that we can use these for. So let's look at all these topic conversations, right? We talked about the first of the few. Fear of being left behind in AI-based education becomes more mainstream. So let's just say there's a lot of good outputs here. And notice the difference in this type of response, and I'm way more like in line with where this is heading. But if you scroll down, this is where the first one is going. This is a lot more general because I wasn't as specific with my primary complaint. And so like that's where you want to add in and update the content brief to facilitate what you're doing there and make it more focused and more clear. Not that these are bad, but if I'm creating content because we're doing like the pioneering course of AI in education, then I'm probably going to want to have my content centered around how like the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we're going to be doing here. Is AI going to, our evil robot overlords going to destroy us all? Is this going to make us all like stupid? And like we're going to have to address like kind of concerns and problems like this, right? And this is going to help us do it. Are you feeling confused about how to use AI responsibly and ethically? I mean, what was the other one I did? Like fear of being left behind. So let's do this. It's very relevant right now. AI is becoming more mainstream. So I've got this fear of being left behind. Is that's the case? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up to the top of my screen, SEO mode, power mode. This is the one I want. And I'm going to show you how to do it otherwise. But power mode is going to help you work and generate content alongside the document that you're already in inside of Jasper. Little annoying that it jumped all the way to the top. So once I show you how to approach power mode with this, I'm actually going to transition to just a template. So it's a little bit cleaner as well. So I'm going to scroll back down on my left-hand side. Topic, where are we at? Yeah, this is, I don't want to do that. Fear of being left behind as mainstream education, or as education-based mainstream becomes more mainstream, right? Now, I could operate inside of this document and just say, hey, Jasper, write more about the topic above. But again, like my focus here is the content generation piece for round one, like before we go into that, like the real legit editing of everything, and then polishing it up to then finalize and put out in the form of Twitter threads, blogs, YouTube scripts, all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to be using workflows right now because I found that heading over to this one-shot blog post is a cool, and there's a lot of ways that you guys can go about this. So I'm just going to be demonstrating a few ways that depending on the type of content that you're creating, you could be using another recipe alongside this to generate a bunch of stuff. But if I just go over here, educators, right? Educators is my intended audience, visceral, emotional language. Now I have the blog topic, fear of being left behind as AI becomes more mainstream. I'm going to scroll down and I'm just going to start with 1. Right now you can go up to 10. This does take a little bit longer to generate. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to tab over to chat and I'm going to share this tab while that's generating. And I'm going to say a compelling blog educates and topic of, right. Now I just came up with this prompt. Write a compelling blog that educates and entertains the reader on the topic of quotes right here. If you guys want to try this exact same prompt out, I just put it in the chat for those of you that are able to access it on the live stream, and I'm clicking enter. And so chat's thinking about this now. Jasper's already come up with my title, like came up with this probably like a minute ago. But now we've got a blog post over here from Jasper. We've got a blog being thought about in Jasper chat. And let's start with that. We'll pair the two and see which one comes out on top. Blog title, Keeping Up with AI-Based Education, Don't Get Left Behind. Blog introduction, technology moves fast and it can feel like you're running to stand still. As artificial intelligence AI is becoming increasingly integrated into the classroom, educators are finding themselves in a race to keep up with the latest innovations. The fear of being left behind is real and very tangible, and this fear can be paralyzing. Now we're in the blog body, right? So that was Jasper's template for generating a one-shot blog post. That was the blog post headline. That was the blog post introduction. And now we're at the blog body. What's driving the push for AI-based education? The shift towards AI-based education is driven by the need to deliver personalized learning experiences at scale. In other words, AI can provide individualized instruction. So this is going one route of where I might go, and I might not necessarily agree with this. And it's my choice whether or not I want to continue with this output or just say this is not going the direction that I really want it to. And so, again, I'm leaning on Jasper here for some different perspectives for this. But once I find the blogs that Jasper is generating, I'm going to add that to my arsenal of stuff that I'm going to edit on like the next round of the content generation process before it goes out to editing. So stay current, right? And so as you guys can read, I'm not going to read the entire thing going up and down. Not a bad little start to something like this. And if I wanted to generate more, I could. And how I would do that is I would just go here and say, okay, 2 more outputs, generate those, and then I'll move on to the next topic. While that's happening, looks like we have a network error from chat, which is, again, if you're using these tools professionally right now, I would not recommend relying solely 100% on the free for now ChatGPT. Sometimes it taps out, sometimes you can't log in. Obviously, they're going to be doing a lot of building on top of it. And I'm not saying that don't use the tool. I'm just saying that's why I use a tool like Jasper, because I never, hardly ever, like 99.9% uptime or whatever it is, have issues with Jasper going down. And when it does go down, it changes my workflow, but it is the most reliable that I've used and most heavily used. Cool. So this is chat's example. The fear of being left behind is a common feeling amongst many individuals, especially as technology advances. AI-based education tools become more mainstream. It's important to understand that this doesn't necessarily mean traditional forms of education will become obsolete. Rather, AI-based education will simply provide an additional layer of support for students and educators alike. And so here, like, you want to decide if this is something that you want to run with or not, right? So another advantage is here. I actually like this. Yeah, it's a good first start. And I see a question from Deb. Once you have the blog copy from Jasper, what do you do with it and how heavy do you edit it? Usually I will edit them inside of document my Jasper docs if I'm just doing kind of one on the fly, or I will pass the information and content onto my team and they'll just take it for like shorter stuff that I've already edited, but I'm usually just like putting the final touches on them and putting some stuff out. A lot of times I'll like brainstorm a lot, like on one of these topics, like really quickly. And I'm not posting like necessarily every day over the past 90 days, for example. I haven't been posting as heavily on a lot of stuff. And so I'm going to be ramping that up right now. And with books, I use a tool called Living Writer, and I'm going to be using Living Writer for organizing a lot of the content that we're going to be creating in here as well. So the workflow that I use on the book side for organizing chapters and different blog posts is I'm just going to make something similar to that and have us build out a whole Living Writer thing, for example, and how that's going to look, just if you guys want to see how that's going to look, because this is what we've done with some of the other content. There will be a recording of this, guys. And I'm maybe on YouTube, but we're going to have the whole recording inside of our QuickBook community and our Gen AI Insider newsletter to share this tab. So again, there's other tools out there beyond Living Writer, like Scrivener is a really popular one, but this is just how Living Writer looks. So I'm going to take a book, for example, that we built based on all of this content pretty much that we generated in here was based on Jasper. And so I would just take a similar approach with the blogs and how we're going to be doing this content. Each like section of this is going to be basically each section of the recipe that we're running through right now. And so like this, for example, this is a totally separate thing, but I'm going to be having a lot of prompts released on how this book was made, like blog posts. And then we could organize all the blog posts inside of here. And these are just fake like characters inside of this book, but like each of these was like generated inside of Jasper, and then we organized it all over here. And then I would just tap back and forth from something like this. And so that's like Jasper to then organizing inside of Living Writer, and then distributing out from there onto whatever channels that you're going to be doing that stuff with. So tabbing back in to ChatGPT, I'm going to take this output because I like it, and I'm going to jump on over, share my tab back here. I've got this content built out on this side right now, and it's good. And I'll go back through and clean up and QA things like right there. But I'm going to also go down this recipe very quickly. And because this is going to be my brainstorming bit that I can just take and write a ton of really quick content inside of Jasper, or again, like we're doing with a lot of this content, is we're just going to be able to riff on it and put it out there because it's all going to be consistent around this topic. We're going to be doing a lot of graphics with these too. So let me go back up to where we were at. So if I was just right here and I was starting to organize this like a blog, and this can get cumbersome if you're doing a ton of blogs in here, but you can copy paste, the fear, where was that? Secondary complaint. Maybe I did that wrong. Paste that into here. But now I would say, okay, I've got my blog post topic, and here is my blog. And so I would come back in, and just the same way that I personally approach books is like writing the first draft first and then coming back in. And that's how we're going to be able to generate 90 days worth of content in a really quick amount of time. And again, like I'm talking about my time specifically too, because some of the stuff is going to get edited by somebody else. So as we move down, again, we already went over the whole complaint thing, but I'm still in power mode. And what I want to do now is go back into focus mode. Scroll back down. No, way too far down. I got a new mouse. Cool. Now we're going on the secondary complaints, right? And so here, the topic of the secondary complaints. And so in this case, if you're doing this for CopyPro, I would add in whatever secondary complaint up here, and then Jasper would give you the topic for that. Again, like you would just copy and paste that over here, and then like this isn't bad content to have while we're here. Aspects of teaching, right? Cool. So now let me go into here. What are the dreams of Avatar related to primary goal, right? So again, like brainstorming, this is going to all give me ideas on ways that I can take this stuff and then go and take it through either just an easy, quick blog post with Jasper, or mind map out something that's going to have a lot more depth to it. Obviously, like writing like really in-depth blogs, like still takes time to do like the editing and like passing through, and this is where Jasper is like helping. It would take me years to brainstorm all stuff like this if I wasn't using AI, and all stuff that's going to help spark something that's going to lead to another piece of content. And I'm not going to have to necessarily think about filling out an entire recipe. I can do it once, and if I need to edit anything, then I can do it inside the recipe. But really good point of I need to create content today. What can I create it off of? Oh, you can go through any section inside of this recipe and then move on down it. So here we see the objections now, right? So now if we have an objection, run this command, objections. I don't want to rely on AI to educate our students. Like AI sacrifices the personal touch, leaves out important topics, like devaluing student input, right? Like a lot of valid things here, right? Now we can start to brainstorm with Jasper, answer each objection. I'm doing Command J with a solution. I don't necessarily want it to go that way. I'm going to now do a Command Shift Enter. And I did a Command Shift Enter there, and it looked right back to the bullets, which was my hunch of how it would operate there as well. Because it's like very specific. And you noticed the first time when I clicked Command J, it continued writing the prompt, and then it started in a more paragraph format, more conversational. This was like, hey, do this, and it did it. Relying on education students, supplementing with AI, allows educators to interact and tailor their teaching styles accordingly. Cool. So now I'm going up and I'm answering any of these. If any of you guys have gone through Alex Hormozi's $100 million offer book, or the recipe we built off of it, following every section of that book, you'll see a similar thing in there, like problem, solution, problem, solution. Well, can we come up with all of the problems that teachers have with AI in education? Can we come up with solutions for those problems? Then we're going to be able to have a lot better and reach more people as a result. So relying on outdated methods. Okay. So this one's got to finish up, and then we'll have like problems and solutions that we can, again, create a second pass of content around. Now, negative feelings, right? And again, like this isn't necessarily going to be something like, this is like one part of the creative process to coming up with an angle or addressing negative feelings that people are having, and then writing content, creating it around stuff. And so is it stressful, like dealing with this fast changing change of technology in the classroom and being worried your students are like, or are people like just cheating and it's just totally changing the atmosphere? A lot of uncertainty, a lot of stressfulness, and there's just a lot of questions around this space right now. And it's going to be a good starting point to build off of for what we're going to be doing next. So now we go into the next section, ultimate fear. If you don't primary goal, what's the worst that can happen? What are some negative consequences? And I want to test this one out in chat as well. So I'm going to say overview, consequences, 10 examples. Fueling fear is an age-old tactic. So this is Jasper telling me that fueling fear is an age-old tactic, but here are 10 compelling reasons why educators, and change this a little bit, it's necessary for educators to help their students reach their full potential. About avatar. So let's do this. We'll start this one again, and we'll see. Risk of dropping out of school and losing motivation. AI enhanced instruction can help without the gap. So we'll run this command one more time. See what we get. I like this output starting better. The more it's student missing opportunities to develop critical skills and knowledge. It's taking a little bit more of an education approach. Still good stuff. See, like something like this now, that catches my eye. AI in education could put students at risk for not being able to keep up with their peers, leaving them behind and unprepared for the future. So now I'm going to take this real quick, just this one, and I'm going to jump over to chat, paste it. I'm going to say, write a compelling and engaging Twitter thread about that addresses the concern of AI in education, which can put students at risk of not being prepared to keep up with their peers. And then we might use this visceral language that captivates the reader. Enter. So it's writing the story now, and it's doing the little one slash that I've seen in Twitter threads. So this is looking like usable right at the start. And I'm going to go ahead and post this command here for those of us joining us on the live. A little bonus for y'all showing up here. It's a good command. Let me do this. That's good. Let me just grab that other command while I got it here. That's fine. Yeah, and you can do this exact same command in Jasper as well. And so what I'm going to do now, like this is the output number 1, right? And so I'm going to do chat as this output. So I'm going to paste back over to Jasper. This is how you, again, like decide for yourself which ones, you're the arbiter of truth, as some folks say in this case, and I think it to be true. Paste it over here. I'm going to say this was chat GPT. So I would say 1. So here's my chat G. So output 2 was much better than output 1. That this was the one that I wanted to grab from. Now I'm going to jump over real quick and grab the exact same command, and let's see what Jasper writes. I'm going to show you a few ways that you can use Jasper in this case. First, I'll put Jasper right here, right below it. Just copy and paste that command. I would then add 3 little asterisks right here as blinders. Again, if you want Jasper syntax, you can check a little bit about that info up here. It's also inside of the AutoScripting course in our upcoming book, AI and the Rebirth of Writing. But for this command, you might want to update the content brief but we'll see if it follows that directly. But I want to remove the number of listicle here because it's not 10. It's I'm going to add this little caret so I know this is the command. And here's the problem with Jasper now. Is not a problem, but like something to be aware of when you're writing more like longer commands. And this is why I use compose for getting the prompts going. A lot of cases is if I do command shift enter, Jasper is limited to 200 word characters or less, 50 words ish or so. But and I like to just add these little colon points because it prompts the AI to say, okay, now let's start. Now, if I just do compose, listen up, educators. AI in education can leave students behind and unprepared for the future, denying them the right to reach their full potential. We must not accept. So this is taking, okay, so it's still doing like the Twitter thread approach. And so this is like one example, which makes sense. It's shorter, it's got emojis with it. But AI. And so I actually like that it generated this, and I'm not going to really change much right now because I think I can come in and tweak it a little bit to just have a different tone to it. Let me say Jasper 2. I'm going to run this a few times. That's interesting because I actually wrote the prompt differently inside of chat because you guys saw it, but it's like kind of commanding itself twice. We do it again. Again, it's in very Twitter threadish type of response. AI in education can be a double sword, leaving students keeping up with the technology behind and unprepared for the future. That's tweet 1. We must remember the duty. Interesting. And again, another output right there. And I could generate as many of these Twitter threads as I want for all of these different topics. And again, depending on what medium you're posting on, blogs, Medium, literally answering questions on Quora, right? I mean, there's a lot of ways you could spend this time inside of this recipe focused on different levels of things that you'd want to create. If I wanted to use that same type of command, I will do, but I'm going to scroll down because now we kind of see, okay, that's how we can address it in the fear section. You could use a command like that, write some Twitter threads, and then you could take that and modify it and go from there. Take 2 seconds to have a quick drink of water and a pause. Check some questions. Formal all lowercase letters in the content brief. So this is falling over from how we were formatting it for CopyPro. And in some cases, it does work with some of the outputs, but sometimes you just find that Jasper, and clearly in this case, it's not doing everything on all lowercase letters. It just has a hard time exactly following some of the instructions. And this is just us trying to prompt it to be a little bit more in line. Honestly, I don't probably even need it in there, to be frank with you, for the content generation piece. And if you're using the commands template specifically inside of Jasper, then I found that it actually does a lot better with executing and like keeping things lowercase, and that's for filling out the buyer's or the marketing blueprint using our buyer blueprint recipe. So let's scroll back down. Oh, promises. If you use product, so I didn't add my product, but let me see, promises. So in this case, you see this, if you use product as the primary goal, what promises can you make to result of average are using process, using product? So this is Jasper saying, I don't even need to really put a product in here, but I could, and it would direct it a little bit more. But this is Jasper, what are some promises that might be delivered on AI being integrated into education, which is, it's fine that it's, I think it gets AI as the product here. So it's, like, if these are some ways that we could use AI, then this would be some cool ways that we can create some compelling like reasons as to why AI is going to be good for the future growth of how we learn and teach and integrate into our world, because it's here. So I've done that one. Here's another one we're going to roll down to. We got mistaken belief. Let's see, might have to update this part of the recipe. Mistaken belief. Oh, this is one of the two-parters where we would want the content brief based on the results here. So if you put your cursor here at the end, click compose, mistaken belief, AI in education is too costly to implement in school. And then Jasper is following with this, the truth is, and what's interesting is that the truth is response is down here, but Jasper gets it because it sees it right here. Like, you see how subtle that is? Mistaken belief dash the truth is. What are mistaken beliefs? If that's the case, Jasper is naturally like responding with this in a two-part command stack that was actually unintentional that it referenced like that. But it's interesting to see that because like before I was just doing it both ways, but I've had similar results in the past. I just hadn't really caught that it was probably because of that caret up there. And so this is like, hey, like mistaken belief about AI and education. Here's like the truth about that mistaken belief. And like these were designed to go in different variables inside of the CopyPro software. And so it like structures out whole like sales pages and email sequences. But we can use this again for, actually, now that I'm looking at this, would actually be maybe a good prompter for creating a Twitter thread out of it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna refresh my screen, because Jasper's caught thinking a little bit. So just did a search find the truth is. So let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and just continue these. This hen, while I'm doing the same command, I'm probably doing a lot of posting on Twitter about this, so this is a good command to use inside of Jasper. And I just like keeping, because Jasper often put itself concisely. And honestly, this entire output right here, it's interesting. So it's update content. It just prompted itself to update the content. So I'm not going to go down that path, but you could say, hey, there's a lot of mistaken beliefs about, I'm going to type that right here real quick. I'm going to speak it. I'm using a tool called Voice In for dictating. Say, there's a lot of mistaken beliefs about AI when it comes to education. Its rapidly evolving technology is changing the way that we teach and learn in the classroom at an unprecedented speed. While there's a lot of misconceptions of what AI means in the classroom, not all is doom and gloom. Here are 10 hard truths about AI when it comes to education. Riffing on that, but that's how I might come in and say, okay, now I've got this like potentially like nice little blog post that addresses this topic. I might introduce it some way like that, and then come in and just refine what it is saying here. And Jasper's already written the conclusion for me. And so again, it's kind of like a small, quick little blog. on this topic, but could be very relevant in the very, very near future. Now that we've done that, here's how you can go in and take each of these different sections that you've just generated, use address, stake, and beliefs, and take that Twitter thread recipe to blog out of each one of these. Let's go up to the top. AI in education is too costly to implement in schools. So I'm going to say, let me do this now. I'm going to go over to chat, to new chat, and give this context. AI in education is there. We take that same Twitter thread recipe that or prompt that we had earlier. So this one, I'm going to test this out, is write a compelling and engaging Twitter thread that addresses the leading content above, and then keeping that use visceral emotional language to address the reader's concern or activates the reader. Okay. Enter. Be tired of hearing that AI in education is too expensive for your school. Let me tell you a secret. That is a myth. The truth is AI-driven solutions are becoming more affordable and accessible for all school sizes. See, this isn't really a Twitter thread. Invest in the future. It's like that did not do what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to regenerate response. There we go. Did it again. Now we're on the right path. Are you under the impression that implementing AI in education is too costly for your school? Think again. So it'd be like thread one. With advancements in technology, AI-driven solutions are becoming more affordable and accessible in schools of all sizes. Don't let costs be a barrier to students to access the latest and innovative education technology. Which reminds me. So cool. Cool. So like example of now how we can take this kind of Twitter thread and generate that content. And I'm just going to pop it over back now. Jasper. And it isn't going to be totally pretty as I'm doing this. And a lot of people have a lot of different processes for going about the post like content creation, like post production. I do have team members that help me with like refining and doing all this sort of content. This is again about the generation phase of the content. We're coming up on 90 minutes now. So I want to see what Jasper does now with that exact same command. So kind of like I did before, added that here. ChatGPT. ChatGPT. I'm going to be scrolling down here a little bit. And I'm going to give it the same exact command right here. So write a compelling and engaging Twitter thread. Command J. So yeah, obviously, if I'm going to go like ludicrous speed and just generate tons of Twitter threads on all of these different angles, I would just come down, take that same prompt command, whatever you want to call it, go here, compelling Twitter thread. And now I've got Jasper going down this path of writing all these different Twitter threads. And I could jump back into chat if I wanted to, ChatGPT, and I could use other templates as well inside. But I just find this is the faster way for generating this content. Here. And you could take every single section of this recipe and do a very similar approach, right? Like you can get like to a lot of like words generated very quickly. Just going top to bottom in this thing and just like creating content as you go, and then you come back on the cleanup. And if you don't at least have weeks worth of content then that you can build off of, then you need to figure out better prompts over here on the side. See a question in the chat. Let me know if this is what you're asking or not. The question being, can you speak like I was doing with the dictation, or type additional outputs? It's not using your credits. You're not losing credits on what you're typing into Jasper. You're not using credits on what you're pasting into Jasper. You use credits whenever you do things like command with Jasper. So command right here, move the number, and I'm removing the number because I want it to be like, not think that starting in the middle of a listicle. This is Jasper generating commands right now. But once I jump in, do this. Okay. Go right over here. All right. Compelling Twitter, engaging thread. Again, boom. We go down as an actor. Capture data. See, this isn't being as much. I'm going to go ahead and do a Command Shift Enter on this one. The truth is, they can only do so much. Digital solutions cannot massively. So it's time for education. Cool. Well, and again, slight modification. Like this isn't like it's tons of content, but this is generating on the Twitter threads. So there's a few more down here. Deb asked, what does leading mean? What I'm trying to get the AI to do in this case is build off of this, like the context that it's like starting the conversation with, and then flowing things from there to go a little bit deeper and unpack it. And so again, example there, I'm going to move on down because you could do that for all of these and generate 50 different Twitter threads like that on different sorts of things, and then obviously putting your own voice in, like editing before you do it in the actual post. This section, moving on down a little bit more, coming up on 90 minutes right now, is the enemy. And so it's like, if you're going to want to brainstorm with Jasper, this is one there, and also very specific for a CopyPro. Oh, that's actually not the command. So this would be how you run this one. You go, what authoritative statements. Actually, ignore what I just did. That was not how you're supposed to run this command. The reason it's set up like this, and like just for you guys setting up your own prompts and such, is that sometimes this could lead just into a paragraph, right? But if you like type the number 1 here, your chances of generating a listicle format go up dramatically. So AI-based educators, traditional educators. So now it's giving me like reasons, like reports and stories of the media, right? Like, okay, and so I can go down here and I could like brainstorm, right? Basically with something like this. Governments that will adopt AI, nonprofit. Interesting. Jasper can keep prompting itself there. Consequences. Yeah, so this is what are the side effects about the primary cause? And so see missed opportunities for the students to thrive. What happens? What's a negative of the situation? What's the consequence of it? Inadequate support, the adapted, unclear understanding of the benefits and challenges, unpreparedness to leverage AI in order to enhance teaching and learning outcomes. No one wants to be unprepared. So there, if you wanted to go and take one of these consequences, for example, unbalanced distribution of resources. Let's do this, like limited accesses to resources. Right here, you would copy that. And actually, I did update this, so you don't even need to really add this to the content brief because it's just for this command. But now Jasper, you give it the consequence. It understands what consequence is. This is the one it's referencing. How can this consequence negatively affect your life? Use creative story to demonstrate. So like one, like that's one like story I could often build related to this. Detrimental consequences. Like, So again, output 2, good enough for what I need for that one, and then I can always come back to it on the second go round. Now this is going to brainstorm negative statistics. Of course, you could always Google stuff too. Jasper gets it right a lot of times, but not all the time. And so always check your facts. Command Shift J. Deb is, I don't know, that might actually open up another tab. Command J is going to do compose. So try doing it without doing Shift and see if you can just click the compose button and make sure that's going to be working for you. AI. Yeah, assist technologies. There's the gap. And see, we're almost at the bottom of this recipe. So what are some bad habits? Avatar trying to, let's say, like lack of focus, it's the brainstorm, success with students. Now we're at secondary goals, right? Primary goal of Avatar, what are 25 secondary goals? So if the primary goal is empowering here, what are some secondary goals they might be looking for? Increasing student engagement, developing critical thinking skills, nurturing digital literacy, leveraging tech. Right? So again, like here, you could explore a command like developing a culture of inquiry and exploration. Through AI and education. Write a compelling, engaging Twitter thread about this. Activates the reader, Command J. It's not really going, not really formatting it like a Twitter thread. So do this is formatted like this. 1, 2, 3, etc. Command Shift Enter, and now Jasper is running this directly. These could also be formatted into short blog posts as well. So cool. In here, secondary goal topics. So each one of these, if you're using CopyPro, you would just add that in above here and then generate the topic for it. Brainstorming goal descriptors and stuff that you can build off of uses hiring power for your content creation and adding in different prompts throughout this. Cool. Positive feelings, always good things that you want to be referencing. Igniting a passion for learning. So for something like this, take this command now, the one that catches my eye. I'm just going to turn this into like a shorter script. Okay. So again, like just like picking out the right types of like outputs that Jasper wants, making that choice, and then deciding which direction do you want to go next. And we're doing this a lot for sort of short form content over the next 90 days. So that's why we're using this Twitter thread recipe. All solutions. I can really run through this once. Let me see where Jasper's going with it because it's prompting itself pretty good here. So it's like, what other false solutions have they probably tried? Tried integrating technologies, relying on technology for teaching methods. That's a kind of stands out. Maybe that's a bigger concern than I would have thought about. One size fits all approach. End of content. And then you could take any of those false solutions and result, but Jasper again sometimes can just prompt itself, not really looking ahead because it doesn't operate like that, but it can lead you to the same solution because of how it's what you're going and doing here. It's a 3-part command, and we pretty much nailed that in the first bit. And success myth. So be interesting to see where Jasper goes here. Just Command J. This is successful. Yeah, that makes sense. It's an example of a command stack inside of here and how you can also come up with your own command stacks on that front. 2, and I added some bonus commands here at the bottom that will give you more content, and here are another set of ways to use Twitter thread ideas on that regard. So I'm going to start this once, running this one command. And if you set any of your prompts like this, you have like multiple prompts that just like work and build on each other. And I call that command stacking. If you do that, you can set it up like this. And then from here, command or compose. Sometimes Command Shift Enter works better here, I've found. Let me do that one and see how the output is. So here we see answer, Jasper goes C1. What are 10 physical problems? Time management, motivation, student engagement, emotional challenges, overwhelmed, feeling drained. Spiritual challenges, burdened with other responsibility, lack of understandings. Okay. So now you want to go with those, and then you wanted to generate any of the solutions, you could start to brainstorm with Jasper on that. And that's what all of these additional commands are here for. But if you just wanted to, say, for example, let's do this. Let's just say bonus commands, and we'll run this one, 10 solutions, 10 resources, solutions, leveraging technology. And so Jasper is going to help us keep running through all of these different solutions in its own context here. And then each one of these solutions, as it's listing it out, is going to build on top of itself. And so the Twitter thread ideas are going to come from the content that we're basically like having Jasper brainstorm. And the time saving factor here is that you could run each one of these like prompts once individually. You could run them 10 times each. You could run them 10 times at once. But now you can do all the different, a bunch of different like Twitter thread ideas right here. And so you could take that, explain the impact of personal education. So if I include discussing that, so you can see right here, take that Twitter thread example. The topic is here. Add the blinders and give it a Command J, see where Jasper goes. So I'm back things up before we go because we're almost at the end of this recipe. in our time together today. So we'll wrap this one up, and I'll show you how we unpack this whole section again. Cool. So you scroll up, got another Twitter thread right there that I could edit a little bit and use for content in a lot of different forms. But how we got here was at the top of this section, the solutions, topic, challenges. We had this first part of this command stack of just coming up with what are the physical challenges that people face: physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual. And so I ran this command by using Command J, and it comes out and it's starting to face, and sometimes it's not always 10. And so if you want to run them individually, you can, but this will just start to kick off that like physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual here. And then I came down to this next section for listing out different solutions for the problem. And this is taking C5 through C9, recognizing that C5 through C9 are right here, and it writes out the rest of it. And then from there, I pasted in the Twitter prompt, and that got me the rest of the Twitter recipe. Again, yeah, and so I could take topic, challenges, or subjects, a viable solution to the problem. As you could just add basically one of these problems up here. I'm just going to say, Command J at the end of this command. Actually, I don't like the way that one's running right off the bat. I'm going to go and do it again, Command Shift Enter. I want it to really do a creative story around it. And so these are ones that like sometimes like I find that it just gives me really good outputs. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily right out the gate. Yep. In conclusion, so it's writing a short little blog, right, about this topic, which is totally fine in this case. Expensive alternatives. I like this command right here. We'll wrap things up here in just a second. You see command stacking question, asking Jasper to pull situations from a list. Yeah, this is a good thing to point out with the command stacking is that Jasper it's going to start building on top of itself. And so if you generate a list of 10 ideas and then a solution to the idea, then Jasper's second command can reference what it generates in the first command. But you only have to run the command stack once when it works right. It doesn't like not always just anything with tech. Like sometimes it just is a little funkier, but I find it like just the more you tweak, even like the word or two in the situations can make all the different. So I don't like it saying varies, but here, yeah, I'll say it is going to vary. So you add your own pricing here, but like this is a cool one for just like how are you going to compare up to like what are the costs of all these other things that you could be compared to your product, service, or offer. Cool. Stop it off right here. You don't really need that. Go back and say some drawbacks if you want it. Benefits that they get from offer name. So I would just add my offer right here. So offer name. So now these are like big benefits that we could play on inside of our marketing as well. Oh, oops. So yeah, added my cursor up here for accident and click Command J, and it's just going to keep running those top 10. It's probably going to give itself a conclusion as well. Or maybe not. So let me do this. We'll have it finish up the bottom here. Obviously not going to be all perfect right out the gate, but just getting the ball rolling here. Offer frame benefits. I really like this command, especially if you're doing like marketing copy stuff, but just like reframing and positioning. It's not just an AI course. It's a way for students to become empowered change makers. It's not an educational opportunity. It's a journey to achieve your full potential. It's not just AI knowledge. It's the experience of learning alongside UC Berkeley, say AI experts more directly for this. It's not a class. It's an opportunity to become a part of the AI revolution. This isn't just an education. It's a way to make a meaningful change in the world with AI technology. Like just reframing some stuff in here that would be good for a lot of different use cases. And then as you go down here, this is the final command stack that I made. We'll finish things off here. If we have any questions, please drop them in the chat over the next few minutes, see if I can address them before we wrap things up. I'm going to start here, offer target. Let's create a series of 10 offer target and offer name, and why it's a good target. So let's do this actually. Command J. Aspiring educators, experienced teachers. So who can we work with on this course to get this course in front of more people is where I'm going with this. Career changers, right? And so I'm setting the first command up here, and it is going to the right place. Career changers who want to break into the field of AI. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good angle. Tech professionals interested in transitioning into teaching. This could be a certification. It probably will be after we finalize everything with the course. Entrepreneurs want to leverage AI for their business, comprehensive overview of the fundamentals. This is really good for stuff that I probably have known, but haven't really that I would have thought about that. And some of the stuff I definitely hadn't really thought about that angle for different places we can apply this course. So now that we've generated 10 of these, we could run the rest of this command stack on that front. What you notice down here, like if you're generating content, call to actions, all that sort of stuff, we'll see if this works on that front. This is the command that we're going to run. I'm going to give it a command J for compose. Let me see. So what's included, hands-on expertise, access to resources. So now it's like building out a lot of the copy for our course that we probably needed for a while. Again, very helpful recipe for brainstorming, getting a lot of the stuff that we're so limited in time, all of us, to do. So I gave a thing there. Things to include in that offer, introduce it. So that's output 1. I want to run this same exact command again. Awesome, CS. Glad you like it. And everyone else out there, I hope you guys are getting value from this recipe. We spent a lot of time on it and do so to make it useful and helpful for you guys using AI in your business. I'm going to run this command again. This time, I'm going to pause that and I'm just going to make a few edits. And again, these recipes are constantly being updated, which is why we have our Cookbook Plus community where I'm sharing all of this stuff in between live streams and things like this. I'm going to start this now with C1 : Command J, because I want it to start with the C1 in mind, and I just want to point it in that direction right from the gate. So it's answering basically each of the 10 in a paragraph format, and that's fine. Like I'm not going to be too nitpicky right now because this is still giving me the content. Deep dive technologies. It's not how you say it. C2 includes, so it's saying like, what does this offer include? And so now, because it's still taking my offer name into consideration, an introduction, and by the way, we've already got like the course outlined, and so this could go in to help us build out the outline even more. So it's definitely useful. Network of like-minded change makers. Cool. So once we've got that listed out, go to C3, introduce the offer right here, get the details. And so again, like a lot of these is, and I'm just saying it can get pretty, like, you don't have to get super into like running every single one at the same exact time. This is, sometimes I just add these in a little bit more detailed because I find that they work sometimes, but C3, Yeah, see, it's still referencing like, what do you get when you enroll, I think. I don't think that's taking part right here. Yeah, interactive activities and classes. Yes, this is pretty good. Okay, we don't do the same thing. And we're at the end of the recipe, a little bit over the 90-minute mark. If it were just me, just doing it just for myself, I would have filled this out like much, much quicker. And that's why I wanted to start off slower for you coming through this recipe, because we started with about 3,000 words of the recipe being just the recipe, so the stuff that we're running, and we ended with about 12,000 words, which is 9,000 words or so of content that we've generated. And a lot of this is very usable content in more than ways than one. If you're looking to build out full email sequences like direct response sales pages, full blown funnels, and do it with the best types of converting frameworks, then you should probably get CopyPro and then plug a lot of these into your CopyPro marketing blueprint and then use that to generate the rest of your emails. Huge time saver. And so if you go through this recipe once, you get all of those variables, you can add them into there. But now you also have a lot of stuff that you can build out for your social media content. And like, really, if we were doing this for a 3-hour like window, like the blueprint and stuff can take a little bit of time to just add the stuff in. It's just pretty like redundant and has some fine details that you need to be aware of. But you should certainly invest the time into doing that, or hiring somebody to do it for you if you're looking to scale up your content with these different AI stacks. So I hope that was very helpful and useful for you guys. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, let me know if you guys got some good value out of this, what any kind of insights or aha moments that you guys had. Would love to hear about them. Shoot me an email or my team at hey@theaiauthor.com. Love to hear from you and what you're creating right now with AI. This is such a fast moving industry. And so much is changing all the time. So we're trying to stay up to date on this stuff as much as possible. And for those of you that are on our email list right now, our customers or members, and in some way, shape, or form, you've probably got an email from me over the past week that we're going to be doing a workshop starting. We had the webinar training a few days ago up with John Benson and a bunch of other experts on lead generation, making sales, on how to use these AI tools. We're calling it Trio AI, these different stacks with CopyPro, Jasper, and ChatGPT to basically build a whole copywriting business. And whether you have ever written a word of copy yourself or not, then like this workshop is going to be 5 days of really intense, in-depth training, really heavily focused on getting you very fast results, full email sequences that you can use to integrate in your own funnels to grow your own business, or that you can go and find clients who have a need for email copy, and going through the process of this blueprint to using it in CopyPro to that workshop, which is going to teach a much more advanced but surprisingly simple way that we're using these really highly engineered prompts with CopyPro's templates, rewriting emails, creating full-blown sales funnels in fractions of the amount of time. And then how do you go and apply that to like actually get clients and grow your business? So it's not just me and John teaching this. There's going to be Facebook ad experts, sales experts. Sean Vossler, the affiliate partner manager at Jasper, is actually going to be there as well teaching. He has a 7-figure copywriting business. He has been around the space for a long time. So really A-list level coaches and teachers and copywriters are going to be coming in for this workshop. So if you're interested in that and want to learn more, go ahead and email concierge@johnbenson.com. John, as a partner, a helper, Marcus, who I'm also worked with in the past, is a great guy. He's manning that inbox for anyone that's interested. We just use the subject line 100. There are only 100 seats available if you guys are looking for that in your business. But otherwise, that is actually starting on January 16th. So it's the 12th right now. Like, this workshop is live. It's 5 days of intense, in-depth training. So I'm going to drop that link here. Go ahead if you're interested in using these AIs, like what we did today, to build an entire business out of. Basically, if you want to use these AI tools to like build a business, whether it's copywriting or building your own business through like copy funnels, then this is going to be the place to be to do it. It'll be taught by John Benson, myself, and 4 or 5 other high-level coaches there. And Marcus is manning this inbox to help with any questions that folks have and help get you set up if it's interested. It does start on Monday. are only 100 seats available for it. So if you're interested, that starts Monday the 16th. And you'll want to be there for all 5 days. And it's going to be very actionable right out the gate. Like day one, we're going to make it well worth your time. I can guarantee that. Alternatively, if you guys are maybe not looking or just like getting into AI in general, or like looking to just learn more on a regular basis and make whether or not you're going to join this workshop or not with us next week. Last week was our very first issue of the Gen AI Insider newsletter. It's going to be our curation hub, our weekly updates for AI, generative AI industry updates, trends, insights, community access to first you get notified for these live streams, these trainings and workshops as we do them. It's only $8.99 a month or $89 a year. Very low ticket, like should not be an issue for anyone, which is why we wanted to bring this kind of information curated by our team to anyone that's interested in this industry. You don't need a Jasper account. You don't need any other subscriptions to get this information sent directly to your inbox via our Circle app, where our newsletters are going to be held every single week. And so after this live stream, we got a little bit of editing to do on our issue number 2, which I'll probably end up, now that we're going over a little bit today, either later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning. But go ahead on over to the aiauthor.com/GenAI. A couple minute video there, me just breaking down exactly what's inside this newsletter for you. And then go ahead and subscribe if you're interested in keeping up to date with this industry, getting some of the latest prompts, insights to like what we're publishing here at the AI Author, and all of the byproduct from us writing these books using AI to help us along the way. We end up with a lot of really cool prompts, command stacks, and recipes that, while they are available first and foremost inside of our Cookbook Plus community, which is our premium membership for advanced training and education, and more workshops, much more in depth with other experts. Not that this wasn't in depth, but in other fields as well, with different experts tying in Jasper. Just finished up a 3-part workshop series, which is available to members right now, on unlocking your brilliance and creating micro courses with Jasper, with Kelly Tenney, who is also doing the UC Berkeley Changemaker course with us. So super excited for what we have here to cover the future of AI in publishing and marketing and sales and education and change making, and ultimately to helping bringing you the best every single week so that you can use AI to help scale your business, create better content faster, but ultimately let's make more money and let's make our lives easier, right? I think that's what a lot of us are in here for. I know I certainly am anyways. And AI has been such a great tool for allowing me to learn how to leverage it and use it to actually get content out there, which I basically would hardly ever post content about my business, much less have my own blog or anything like that before Jasper. And that really helped shatter the kind of like the writer's block, the curse of the blinking cursor, as some call it. And what we try to help you with at the AI Author is overcoming that prompt paralysis that can often come from like knowing what this AI can do, but how do you control it? How do you harness this AI and really use it to reach your full potential in your creative world as a writer, as a business owner, as an author, marketer, copywriter? There's so many ways that we can use this new technology to our advantage, but great power comes great responsibility. And ultimately it's up to us to be the arbiters of truth and use these tools with our choices to level up and extend our talents in writing and being creative, and not detract from that, because I do believe there are right ways to approach these tools, and there's ways that are going to ultimately hurt some people because of just the way things go. So if you want to stay up to date with all that, go ahead and subscribe to Gen AI Inside. And thank you for being here with us live today. Really enjoyed having everyone on the chat. And yeah, great 2 hours with y'all. Hope to see you inside the community. And until our next live stream, stay safe out there, stay safe, and see you guys. Bye-bye.